My sister destroyed my relationship because she couldn't have her one true love, so I made her watch him fall for me instead. My world, once a vibrant tapestry woven with laughter, shared dreams, and the quiet comfort of Liam's presence, unraveled in a cruel, methodical fashion, stitch by agonizing stitch, all orchestrated by the one person I should have been able to trust implicitly, my sister, Eleanor. Liam was everything to me then, kind, thoughtful, with a smile that could chase away any shadow and eyes that held an entire galaxy of warmth. Our love story wasn't a whirlwind romance, it was a slow, beautiful burn, built on late-night conversations, shared passions for obscure indie films, and the easy rhythm of two souls simply fitting together. Eleanor, my older sister by 3 years, had always been a figure of both admiration and quiet envy in my life, brilliant, charismatic, effortlessly charming everyone she met, yet beneath that polished exterior lay a fierce, almost predatory desire for what she perceived as hers, especially if it was something I cherished. I noticed the subtle shift when Liam entered the picture, a lingering gaze too long, a compliment delivered with a touch too much intensity, an almost imperceptible tightening of her jaw when he mentioned me. I dismissed it, of course, because sisters, right? We shared everything, confidences, clothes, even crushes in our younger years, but this felt different, a silent, growing obsession that I was too naive to fully grasp. The first cracks in my perfect world appeared subtly, like hairline fractures in glass you don't notice until the whole pane shatters. Liam began to seem distant, his texts grew shorter, his calls less frequent. He'd cancel plans last minute with vague excuses, and the warmth in his eyes, once so bright, would dim whenever I tried to talk about our future, or even just our day. I was confused, hurt, and desperate to fix whatever was breaking us. I tried talking to him, pouring out my anxieties, asking what was wrong, but he'd just shake his head, a troubled look in his eyes, saying it was us and that he needed space to think things through. The space grew into an abyss, and soon, the words I dreaded, yet somehow expected, tumbled out, "I think we need to break up." My heart didn't just break, it imploded, leaving a gaping, agonizing void. I cried for weeks, locked myself in my room, replaying every moment, searching for a sign I'd missed, a mistake I'd made. Eleanor, ever the supportive sister, was there, offering platitudes and hugs, wiping my tears, subtly reinforcing my self-doubt by nodding knowingly when I blamed myself. She became my confidant, my shoulder to cry on, always ready with a cup of tea and a comforting, yet subtly venomous, phrase like, "He clearly didn't know what he had, darling," or "Some people just aren't built for commitment, no matter how much you give them." The irony, I would later discover, was a bitter, burning acid in my gut. The truth, as it often does, came out in the most unexpected and cruel way. Months after the breakup, when I was slowly, painstakingly piecing myself back together, I was helping Eleanor clean out her old laptop, searching for a file for a presentation. I stumbled upon a hidden folder, disguised innocently as recipes. Curiosity, or perhaps fate, led me to click. Inside were not recipes, but screenshots, meticulously dated messages, and recordings. My blood ran cold as I scrolled, each piece of evidence a dagger to my already wounded heart. There were texts from Eleanor to Liam, not just friendly chats, but deeply manipulative conversations. She had systematically, painstakingly, and brilliantly poisoned his mind against me. She had spun tales of my supposed infidelity, fabricating scenarios where I was seen with other men, twisting innocent interactions with male friends into scandalous liaisons. She had sent him anonymous messages from burner phones, pretending to be concerned friends warning him about my true nature. She had even subtly altered photos on my social media, adding filters or cropping them to make me appear flirtatious or disengaged from him. There were recordings of her crying to Liam, recounting fabricated stories of my callousness, my lack of empathy, my tendency to use people and then discard them. And then, the final, most damning piece, a recording of Liam confronting her, his voice weary and confused, asking why she, my sister, would say such things. Eleanor's voice, smooth and practiced, full of feigned sorrow, as she confessed her concerns for him, her desire to protect him, and how she couldn't stand by and watch him get hurt. My vision blurred with tears, but not of sorrow this time. This was a volcanic eruption of rage, betrayal, and a sickening clarity. Eleanor hadn't just broken my relationship, she had shattered my trust, defiled our sisterhood, and reveled in my pain, all to clear the path for herself. The casual, almost triumphant tone in her subsequent texts to her best friend, recounting how Liam finally saw the light and how "it's only a matter of time now," was the final blow. It wasn't just that she wanted Liam, it was that she wanted to destroy me in the process, to prove she was better, more deserving. In that moment, a cold, unwavering resolve settled within me. The tears stopped, replaced by a steely determination. I wouldn't just heal, I would make her watch as her one true love fell not for her, but for me, a love that would be forged not in manipulation, but in a crucible of deliberate, calculated intent. My plan began subtly, almost imperceptibly. I knew a direct confrontation would only escalate into a messy, emotional battle, and I didn't want that. I wanted her to see it, to feel the exact pain she had inflicted on me, but amplified, twisted, and reflected back onto her. First, I focused on myself, not out of genuine self-improvement, but as a strategic move. I got a new haircut, a bold, striking style I'd always wanted but never dared. I revamped my wardrobe, trading my comfortable, everyday clothes for sharp, sophisticated pieces that exuded confidence. I started going to the gym, not for a healthier body, but for the visible change it would bring. I knew Eleanor thrived on comparison, on feeling superior. My transformation was designed to disrupt her comfortable narrative. I started showing up at events where Eleanor knew I'd be, especially if Liam was likely to be there. Our mutual friends were still in contact with both of us, and navigating those circles became my battleground. My encounters with Liam were initially accidental, carefully orchestrated chance meetings. A shared glance across a crowded room, a polite nod, a brief, cordial exchange of pleasantries. I didn't chase him, I simply existed, radiating a newfound inner strength and contentment that I definitely didn't feel but projected with every fiber of my being. Eleanor noticed, of course. I saw the flicker of annoyance in her eyes when Liam's gaze lingered on me a moment too long, the subtle clenching of her jaw when he complimented my new look. This was just the beginning. The real game began when I started subtly integrating myself back into Liam's orbit. I'd accidentally show up at his favorite coffee shop, striking up a conversation about the book he was reading, a book I'd meticulously researched. I'd join group outings, making sure to sit next to him, engaging him in conversations about his passions, his love for vintage records, his ambition to travel to obscure historical sites. I listened intently, asked insightful questions, and genuinely connected with him on topics Eleanor had always dismissed as boring or too niche. Liam, initially wary and still carrying the scars of our previous breakup, slowly began to open up. He saw a new me, a me that was confident, intriguing, and seemingly unfazed by our past. He began to confide in me about the lingering confusion from our breakup, how he felt something had been off but he couldn't pinpoint it. I offered vague, sympathetic responses, nodding understandingly, never directly blaming Eleanor, but subtly planting seeds of doubt about the source of his previous misgivings. Sometimes, I'd say softly, people have their own agendas, and they can twist things for their own benefit, even if they're close to you. A flicker of realization, a shadow of suspicion would cross his face, and I knew my words were finding their mark. The genuine part of me, the part that still remembered the man I fell in love with, felt a pang of guilt for this manipulation, but the burning memory of Eleanor's betrayal quickly extinguished it. This wasn't about love, not yet, it was about justice. Eleanor, meanwhile, was growing increasingly agitated. Her attempts to casually insert herself into our burgeoning reconnection became more transparent, more desperate. She'd invite herself along, try to dominate conversations, or subtly try to undermine me in front of Liam. "Oh, remember when she used to hate indie music, Liam?" Funny how tastes change, she'd remark with a saccharine smile, her eyes darting between us. I'd simply smile back, "People grow, Eleanor. It's part of life." Liam, oblivious to the deeper currents, would just nod, perhaps even agreeing that people change, unknowingly validating my transformation. The more she tried to push herself into the center, the more I gently, gracefully, but firmly, pushed her to the periphery. I would suggest activities that were more suited for just Liam and me, or subtly redirect conversations away from Eleanor's attempts to regain control. I watched her, a predator cornered, her usual composure cracking under the strain. Her perfectly coiffed hair would be slightly askew, her effortless smile replaced by a forced grimace, her usually vibrant energy replaced by a nervous, twitching tension. It was glorious, a slow-motion car crash of her carefully constructed self-image. Then came the day Liam asked me out again, a proper date, not a casual hangout. My heart pounded, a strange mix of triumph and a nascent fear. The fear wasn't about him, but about the unsettling truth that had begun to surface about him, whispers I'd caught from our mutual friends. Apparently, Liam had a history of intense, brief relationships, always ending abruptly and mysteriously. Eleanor had once mentioned it to me, dismissing it as boyish charm, but now, hearing it again, coupled with Eleanor's strange, almost manic obsession with him, a cold shiver ran down my spine. Could Eleanor's madness have had a kernel of truth? Was she trying to protect me, in her own twisted way? I pushed the thought away, focusing on the immediate objective. The date was perfect, carefully curated by me, blending nostalgia with new experiences. We went to our old favorite bookstore, but then discovered a new, quirky cafe. We talked for hours, deeper conversations than we'd ever had before, and I found myself genuinely enjoying his company, almost forgetting the calculated nature of my pursuit. Almost. Liam and I became inseparable again, our rekindled romance blooming rapidly, spectacularly. It wasn't just a casual fling, it was clear to everyone, especially Eleanor, that we were back on the path to something serious. He brought me flowers, wrote me sweet notes, and made plans for our future with an earnestness that was both heartwarming and, given the circumstances, chilling. We started talking about finding an apartment together, and even visited a few. Each time we did, I made sure to casually mention it to Eleanor, or leave brochures lying around where she would accidentally see them. Her reactions grew more erratic. She stopped trying to hide her despair, her eyes haunted, her once sharp wit replaced by sharp, desperate outbursts. One evening, after Liam had proposed we make our rekindled relationship official in front of a group of our friends, a moment I had discreetly prompted him towards, knowing Eleanor would be there, Eleanor excused herself abruptly from the table, her face ashen. I followed her, feigning concern, and found her in the deserted hallway, sobbing uncontrollably. This was the moment. My revenge was complete. I leaned against the wall, watching her, a cruel satisfaction washing over me. "Why, Eleanor?" I asked softly, my voice devoid of the sympathy I pretended to possess. "Why did you do it?" She looked up, her face streaked with tears, her eyes wide with a raw, primal terror that startled me. "You don't understand," she choked out, her voice raspy. "You don't know him. You don't know what he's capable of." My smugness faltered. "What are you talking about?" I demanded, a knot forming in my stomach. She shook her head frantically. He ruins people. He gets inside your head, twists everything. He did it to Sarah. He did it to Amelia. He made them believe things, made them question their own sanity. He drove them to desperate places. Sarah and Amelia. Their names hit me like a physical blow. They were two girls Liam had dated before me, both of whom had vanished from our social circle abruptly, surrounded by vague rumors of mental breakdowns or moving away for a fresh start. Eleanor, still sobbing, pulled out her phone, trembling hands fumbling through her gallery. She showed me messages, not from Liam, but from Sarah, sent months ago, frantic, desperate pleas for help, detailing a slow, psychological dismantling at Liam's hands. Then, a chilling photo, Amelia in a hospital gown, looking utterly broken, a single line of text from Eleanor's old therapist beneath it. Eleanor's obsessive fear for her sister is rooted in a past trauma involving a manipulative individual. My one true love wasn't Eleanor's infatuation, it was her attempt to shield me from a danger she knew intimately. Her jealousy, her sabotage, her cruel manipulation, it was all a desperate, misguided attempt to protect me from a man she believed was profoundly dangerous, a man she herself had nearly fallen victim to in the past, her one true love obsession a trauma response, a deluded belief that she was the only one who could understand or handle him. My revenge, once so sweet, turned into a bitter, terrifying realization. I had not only destroyed my sister, but in doing so, had unwittingly led myself back into the arms of the very person she had been trying so desperately, albeit disastrously, to protect me from. The universe, it seemed, had a twisted sense of irony, and my victory felt like the most devastating loss of all.